what is that one hobby that you have that could be considered extremely unexpected out of you? Like, what the hell? वैसा वाला कोई hobby है आपके पास?
I DJ, which is the most surprising thing which a lot of people don't know. One of my students was there at one of the gigs. I was playing like, sir, are you the same person who teaches us there?
How did your interest arise in music, and when did you think that I wanted to be a DJ?
So I think DJing for me is more hobby. It's never going to be a career path for me.
How you decided to start Myntmore, and what ideas struck you at that point?
When all the sales calls I do, more than 90% of those people don't have outreach channels. They more depend on inbound referrals, warm leads coming in. They don't even try out. They're happy with the business they get inbound.
Right.
And I realized that's a gap to kind of solve for. So that's how I think Myntmore began. Also got Ratan Tata to be my mentor, because I sent cold emailing campaigns to him. In 2020, Flintstop scaled up. We were doing around 8,000 orders. I started cold emailing investors at that point that, hey, we were a $12 million company. I wanted to make it a $50 million company. What an investor said that, Tejas, I don't want to invest or give you money. I want to buy you out. I was in this mix of emotions because it was my baby. I'd built it to a certain level. But my father and my grandfather always told me never be emotional in business. I realized that I think I have two core skills, at least because of Flintstop. Because one was how to identify, invent, problem-solving products. And second was how to build a business digitally and scale outreach.
Okay.
धंधा कैसे लाना?
How you constantly having that, mindset of growth. Okay, I don't want to settle anywhere in life.
No matter what you achieve, always set a new high score in life.
Okay.
Don't be satisfied with high score 1.
I have a very interesting question to ask you. What is that one hobby that you have that could be considered extremely unexpected out of you? Like, what the hell? वैसा वाला कोई hobby है आपके पास?
Yeah. So I also teach in colleges, right? Like I am an ISB. One day I DJ, which is the most surprising thing which a lot of people don't know. One of my students was there at one of the gigs. I was playing like, sir, are you the same person who teaches us there? Because that's a very different personality as a teacher and as a DJ as a whole. So that's something which shocks a lot of people when I tell them that I DJ.
So how did your interest arise in music, and when did you think that I wanted to be a DJ?
So I think DJing for me is more hobby. It's never going to be a career path for me.
Okay.
Although when I was very young, I got trained into classical singing and I used to play the harmonium, and that's was my entry into music.
Achha.
Which led me, during COVID, we had a lot of time. So I started picking up instruments. I picked up the guitar, the flute, the mouth organ. And in COVID, I bought this DDJ mixer. I always thought that I loved electronics and I'm a very fidgety person. So I was always curious, what do these DJs keep doing and pressing on these buttons and using the software? So I was very curious. I bought myself a mixer and I went on YouTube and I learned, and I realized it's super easy to kind of mix. I think the key in DJing is curation and reading the crowd and uplifting them and controlling that emotion at that point for that audience. I think it's very therapeutic, man, DJing. I can go on for like 8-10 hours and it's deep work of sorts, right? Where it's like meditation and therapy, where you're just in that zone, in that flow state, creating a lot of joy for yourself. So it's beautiful, man.
Absolutely. And plus, I think it also gives you an opportunity to relax and take your mind off of work.
Absolutely.
So for a person, so I'll just give you an example. So a lot of students, when I was in my MBA, a lot of students had, this thing that, we'll only have to study, and, anything outside of studies might not be a good thing, extracurricular activities and all. So for a lot of people, deep work, when we say it, is mostly, in entrepreneurship or business, they are very toxically productive, if we say so. So any advice to those kind of people where, you can share some thoughts about, the benefits of not always being, towards work and all?
Absolutely. So I'm a true believer of being a jack of all, because that gives you such diverse experiences, which then you just have to connect all the dots. What I learned from DJing, what I learned from badminton, what I learned entrepreneurship, what I learned from my teacher, from my mentor, and how I can connect those dots to create like this life balance for oneself.
Yeah.
I think what is money when there is no life, right?
Yes.
I think it's so important. I think health comes first, then comes family, and then would come money, business, upskilling, so on and so forth. So I think it's so important to have that balance overall, so that you're not burning out at work.
Absolutely.
You're giving your time to your family, your hobbies, your upskilling, spirituality, whatever kind of you wing with. So super important for that balance.
I would love to understand the process on how you decided to start Myntmore and what ideas struck you at that point.
Sure. Uh, I have been cold emailing since a lot of years,
Okay.
since 2014 to be very precise. I got my first B2B customer in Flintstop because of cold emailing.
Okay.
I also got Ratan Tata to be my mentor because I
Wow.
sent cold emailing campaigns to him through cold emailing and LinkedIn outreach. I sent him probably 60 emails and multiple messages. One day somebody replied and it was EA. And she
Okay.
said, Sure, Mr. Tata would like to meet you.
Wow.
And I think that was the best moment of my life. And I realized that the power of cold emailing is insane as far as you're genuinely sharing what you want from the other person in video format, because that's where they
Of
kind of
course.
learn your emotions, right? So coming back to your question on how Myntmore began, in 2020, Flintstop scaled up.
Yeah.
We were doing around 8,000 orders. I started cold emailing investors at that point that, hey, we were a $12 million company. I wanted to make it a $50 million company. So I'm like, I need to raise external funds to scale it to that level. So I started cold emailing a lot of investors. I got like 40, 50 meetings in like 3 weeks with investors. One investor said that, Tejas, I don't want to invest or give you money. I want to buy you out.
Okay.
मैंने लाइफ में सोचा नहीं था कि मेरे को बिजनेस बेचना है ever.
Correct. Yeah.
And at that point I was in this mix of emotions because it was my baby. I'd built it to a certain level. But my father and my grandfather always told me never be emotional in business. You can create multiple businesses in life.
Right.
It's important to have passion towards what you do.
Yeah.
I got a good value and I went for that exit. And then I went for Vipassana. Have you heard of Vipassana?
Yeah, I think it's a meditation center where you just detach from
Absolutely. Right.
everything.
So
Yeah.
I'm super spiritual in nature.
Okay.
So one of my friend has done Vipassana like 7-8 times. Okay. Every time he would get done with Vipassana, he would make this PPT and tell me, Tejas, मैंने Vipassana में ये unlock किया.
Okay.
मैं हमेशा उसको बोलता था that मेरे को भी Vipassana करना है. But he's telling me कि तू हवे में बात कर रहा है. तेरे को करना नहीं है. अगर करना है तो आज के आज form fill कर. He sat on my head and he made me fill that form.
Okay.
Next thing I reached Vipassana. Boss, I'm a very chatty guy, okay? I love chatting with people and I can't stay quiet for a while. At Vipassana, it's like 10 plus 2, 12 days of silence. No talking, no reading,
phones.
writing, no eye contact. You deposit your phone, you deposit a book, pen, everything.
Okay.
And you're just meditating all day. And what that meditation teaches you is how to fight with your inner voice. Like when you're doing push-ups, so that after 10 push-ups, that inner voice tells you, bas ho gaya, na, push nahi karna hai. Then you stop there.
Yes.
But if you fight with that inner voice and do the additional 5 push-ups, Vipassana teaches you that the additional pain one goes through, just temporary pain for a lovely outcome later.
Right.
So I think Vipassana taught me a lot about the whys of my life. Why am I who I am? Why have I done what I've done? Why do I make the decisions I make? Why do I behave in a certain way? And I realized that I think I have 2 core skills, at least because of Flintstop, which was one was how to identify and invent problem-solving products. And second was how to build a business digitally and scale outreach.
Okay.
धंधा कैसे लाना है, right? With जुगाड़.
Yeah.
मतलब पैसा देके धंधा नहीं लाना है, जुगाड़ करके with a lean approach, how can I get maximum business?
Correct.
And I mastered cold emailing. And I realized that there are a lot of businesses which are not harnessing cold outreach. I would say when all the sales calls I do, more than 90% of those people don't have outreach channels. They more depend on inbound referrals, warm leads coming in. They don't even try out. They're happy with the business they get inbound.
Right.
And I realized that's a gap to kind of solve for because I have the skills to get meetings for myself, so I don't do it for other people.
Right.
So that's how I think Myntmore began. Back then, we were I would say, e-commerce and a lead gen agency as a whole. Then over the time, we realized that boss is important to have a niche. We can't spread too thin and have so many verticals. And we also realized that in all the services we were giving earlier, we didn't have a lot of control towards the outcomes.
Right.
But in lead gen, we have full control over what outcomes we want because we know the process in and out. So then we realized, let's get rid of the clutter, focus on that one service, scale the hell out of it, and take it from there. And that's how Myntmore was born.
Wow, and the point that struck with me was that when you said yaar, I got an exit at a decent price, of course. So most of us, like normal people, aam aadmi, if I say, so we always have this perspective, yaar, agar 1 करोड़ कमा लिया, लाइफ सेट है, 10 करोड़ कमा लिया, लाइफ सेट है. How are you constantly, like Flintstop हो गया, now Myntmore, how are you constantly having that, mindset of growth? कि यार, okay, I don't want to settle anywhere in life. I want to, build something of value. I want to grow, make it better and bigger. How do you, manage that?
So I think that's come because of upbringing. I think my grandfather and my father, my grandfather and me used to be very close. He passed away a year back. He was 97 when he passed away, and working till the last day of his life. And a very curious guy. He would ask me a lot of questions of my business.
Okay.
He always told me, boss, no matter what you achieve, always set a new high score in life.
Okay.
Don't be satisfied with high score one. That new high score every time you have to create.
Yeah.
So I think bachpan say that attitude has been there in my father, in my uncles, and everybody at home. So it was very natural, to kind of learn from them and keep setting tougher high scores for oneself. Because one gets complacent by being satisfied with that first high score you make. So,
that is really inspiring, actually, for me as well, personally. What would be an ideal customer profile for, Myntmore? Because now we'll move on to a little bit of business questions.
Okay, sure. So at Myntmore, we have multiple ICPs, ideal customer profiles. We add a lot of value to B2B SaaS companies, where we help them with appointment setting. The second bit is manufacturing companies. If you're a manufacturing company, you want to export in, let's say, Egypt or Kenya or wherever, we help those companies with appointment setting. Third is we help a lot of VC funds on finding the right founders to invest in, to being a portfolio company with that VC to help their companies with lead gen. We do a lot of white labeling work. So I white label for a lot of agencies based out of US, Australia, UK, where my teams represent, let's say, this US agency and deliver to the client. So we make email IDs of that agency and then deliver to this client, right? So white labeling really helps us. And the last ICP for us is anyone in the service industry, whether you're a recruitment firm or marketing agency. Finally, we're also helping another lead gen agency with lead gen.
Yes.
Right. So these are the ICPs we have, which are prioritized. There are many more, but these are the core focus which you want to do, which has the appetite to pay. The deal value is higher. We've done work in that. We know how to crack that. But apart from that, there are a lot more ICPs we can get into.
Yeah.